Let me talk to you about this because we know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon teams. But when I talk about gas in the tank, Coach, why do we have to play everybody 40 minutes every single night on a night-to-night basis? And how's that going to turn out for him?
Like every team that Tibbs turns out over his career, crash and burn at some point, and right now they're crashing and burning. I was thinking about it. Guys, if you remember, different team, 21-22, everybody was big on the Chicago Bulls, right? Remember the Bulls? Lonzo was healthy, DeRozan, Levine, they were pretty good, and they played any top team in East or West, and they got smoked, boat raced every single time. This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team, and I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. They're inconsistent at times in their effort. They have no bench. They have issues there in New York. So are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Because forget about it. They don't look good when they play the top teams in the NBA.
Family-friendly program, and if you know Fugazi, that might not be the nicest word. But anyway, JY, as we look at what Donnie was alluding to, the record, 37-20. Still very comfortably in the 3 spot in the Eastern Conference standings. That would be hosting at least one playoff series come the postseason. But what really is concerning in terms of that updated outlook is an 0-7 mark against the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Thunder. The 3 best records around the NBA, the 3 NBA teams so far that have reached at least the 40-win benchmark. And yet a 15-1 price on the Knicks. It's the 5th best around the association. So if it's not a championship contending team at this instant, what is the ceiling for the New York Knicks as constructed, even with the addition of Mitchell Robinson, hopefully within the next week or so for the Knickerbockers?
This may be a crazy take. If I'm the Knicks, I don't want the 3 seed. I don't want Boston. I mean, I think the Knicks could have a sliver of hope versus Cleveland because of the fact that they've beaten Cleveland up in the playoffs last year. Mitchell Robinson seems to give Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley fits on the offensive boards. So to me, if I'm the Knicks, I know this sounds crazy. That 4 seed looks a hell of a lot better. So if you get to the 4 seed, then you think maybe you could sneak by Cleveland, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and lose to Boston in a competitive series, something that I would say would be 6 games. That would be good for them. If they're 2-3 and it's Boston, that's not good. That's night-night. Because even though they tried to go get to continue with just OG and Mikal, go and getting Karl-Anthony Towns, another version of Kristaps Porzingis as that stretch 5 to bring you outside, Boston's just a better version of New York. Basically 1 through 5, and the bench, and the coach. So to me, if you're New York, honestly, if you want to make the Eastern Conference Finals, Ben, you got to go through Cleveland because you can't get through Boston.
Yeah, and you take a look at the NBA odds, too, to win the championship here on the FanDuel Sportsbook. It's pretty clear. It's the Boston Celtics plus 170 price, the OKC Thunder at plus 210. But then that's my squad, the Cavs, at a plus 750 price. Coach, talk to me about the Cavs at the plus 750 price, but also, is there anybody else on that odds board you feel is getting a little disrespected by those odds?
What happened? Joel Embiid get hurt? You just jumped off the 76er trade that quickly? Okay, well, at least we know Donnie's a front runner there. But listen, when you look at the East, you have what Cleveland has done, okay? And I think this leads to what J.B. Bickerstaff needs to get some credit, right, for developing that young team. He just wasn't good in the playoffs. The fact that they could beat you so many different ways, Donnie, and I think the DeAndre Hunter trade is going to pay off more than people think. It allows Kenny to play different ways by going big 3-4-5 or go smaller and put him at the power forward spot for Mobley or Allen, which also, ready for this, Tibbs, it brings their minutes down a little bit now because you could move these guys around a little bit. Listen, Cleveland's been a great story, obviously, what they're doing. But when you look out west, listen, I got to say this. I had fun Saturday night doing the show with Kevin Walsh. But it is not fun doing a Laker game when the Lakers play well. You want to talk about 2.5 hours of pain. Pain.
Fraud.
You want to talk about a front runner. Maybe we should talk about, actually, I don't want to do another kid up. Yep. But you know what I mean. Lakers will be interesting. I won't do it. Lakers will be interesting play, but guys, I know they lost Saturday. I like Houston as a little surprise team, but everything's going to be based off of matchup, guys. Who plays who in the playoffs will dictate who can go far.
It's a really good point, JY. And the standings right now in the Western Conference are pretty cut and dry at the top. OKC has a 9.5-game lead over both the Grizzlies and the Nugs. The Lakers and the Rockets, same win percentage at this moment, or around the same number, 34-21 for LA. One fewer win, but one fewer loss than that of Houston, trying to battle in that 4-5 spot for who would get home floor advantage in a potential opening round matchup. A lot to be determined out west that will factor in to those odds. Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on this Monday on the Early Line on Sports Grid. He is Donnie, I am Ben. It is our third and final hour, and in this last hour, a ton of basketball breakdowns for you. 8-game slate to start off a new week on a Monday night around the association. Some really good college basketball matchups on this Monday as well. Top 15 tilt in the Big 12. Yes, please. No days off in that conference. Certainly not for Houston, trying to clinch a second consecutive Big 12 regular season title. A lot to get to here, DRS, in this third and final hour.
Yeah, nice little finish here to start to the week on a Monday to get you prepped and ready as we start to cruise into control with college basketball. But there still are some interesting topics alone, like in the NBA, and a pretty good slate on the schedule tonight. So looking forward to it, hour number 3, getting all the updated latest. And who's it? With a little Vecchio action here, TV Tom in hour number 3 as well.
Sure.
So we're set. We're ready.
We'll get some prop perspective. We'll be ready to go. The jack of all trades is Tom Vecchio. So whether that's around the association, on the ice for the NHL, now underway once again with regular season action, or an early look at Major League Baseball, the home run prop king is here in this third and final hour. DRS, we start off this third hour with an NBA conversation we've had a few times, but now we get the input of the public. The New York Knicks, what is the ceiling? Are they a true title contender? That was the question for all of you in Fade the Public. You know, it's hard to argue with the public and how they're seeing it right now, DRS. Are the New York Knicks legitimate contenders to win the NBA championship? Yes or no? Your two options at SportsGrid on Twitter. More than 83% of the votes, DRS, saying no, absolutely not. Have you seen the Knicks play against the best of the best? New York is not an NBA title contender. Donnie, did you fade the public at all here in this FTP poll?
Now, back to me here. 83%. I'm with you at this point.
Yeah.
Also understand this. Like, it's not as if the Knicks are like 150-1 to win the NBA title. Like, they're top 5, top 6 on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now as being an attractive team technically that you can bet with like under a 20-1 price, which is insane, which you see 83% say, we're not buying that at all. As you see the graphic pop up right there, 15-1 price to win the NBA championship. But I don't look at it that way. And quite frankly, it's a perfect time for the poll after a game where they got wasted again by the Boston Celtics, giving you no hope at this point. Is it a buy low option? Could it be this bad all the way out? Probably not. And they'll probably win maybe a game left or two. I don't even know who they have left in, let's just say, the top 5 or so in the NBA. But once you get to the playoffs, it is all about that regular season. Not necessarily. But you know what you want to have? A couple banked-in victories in your mind. Like, hey, remember that time we were down 10 against the Boston Celtics? We came back and beat them. You don't have any of those type of things here. So when you're facing the upper echelon teams in the playoffs, you can't reach down and be like, yeah, we beat them in February. Yeah, we beat them in March. Yeah, we beat them in April. Stop the madness at this point. Right now, 0-7 versus the top 3 teams, 15-1 price. I'm not buying right now in the New York Knicks. Are you?
No, did not fade the public at all. I think I was the first vote as soon as I saw this pop up on my phone that we were tagged, of course, as we always are in the Fade the Public poll. Boom. No, on the New York Knicks. At a time, it was 100% with my initial vote. In 100%, I feel as though the New York Knicks are not an NBA championship contender. Second round of the postseason? Sure. Eastern Conference Finals in an upset? Pending on how things look in terms of that playoff seeding. But, Donnie, to answer your question, 3 games already against the Celtics, 0-3, losing by an average margin of nearly 21 points per game. They got beat by the Cavs by 37 in the land on Friday night. The Knicks have the Cavs 2 more times. They have the Celtics once to finish out the regular season. Again, regular season matchups do not necessarily predict what we are going to see in the postseason. But to have a little bit of that belief, a callback, a memory to say, hey, we beat this team in a gritty moment down the stretch, on the road, at home, whatever it may be. Donnie, they don't even have like a, hey, that was a close game, man. Barely lost it. They've been beat bad by all of these teams. The 0-7 mark against the NBA's three best. That would be the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference, and of course the Oklahoma City Thunder out west. Those are the three teams around the NBA right now at the 40-win benchmark. The Celtics have the worst record of the three with 43 wins so far. Donnie, it was a really interesting offseason around the Eastern Conference because as soon as the odds opened up, after the Celtics won Larry O'Brien Trophy number 18 to make some history this past year, the C's opened up as a short favorite to win both the Eastern Conference way back in June in the NBA championship before the season even truly got started, before the offseason really got underway. And the question at the time, with how dominant Boston was out east this previous year, who would be that team to provide a test? Could it be the Pacers, continuing year over year like we saw Indiana reach the Eastern Conference Finals? Would the Knicks or the Sixers finally make a move? Would Dame and Giannis be back together? The Knicks and the Sixers both made those moves. The odds got short, not all that close to Boston, but shorter. And it still feels like, Donnie, out in the Eastern Conference, Boston is a tier of its own. But the biggest question is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who will be the one seed more than likely with a 6-game lead over Boston in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a mountain we just can't climb if you're looking to bet the Knicks here at a 15-1 price. Like, you do have injuries down the stretch, we get that. You do have a quality starting lineup and a good head coach, but you also have to understand 0-7 is 0-7. You might feel a little bit better. Hey, 4-3 against the top teams, or heck, even 2-5. Hey, still a couple of those played close, and the other ones it just didn't work to our advantage. But 0-7 is a bell raiser because you're looking at the playoffs where you are going to have to face the best teams in the NBA, not only to win the Eastern Conference, but make it to the NBA Finals and win in the NBA Finals. So we just haven't had that confidence boost that's showing us, okay, good. Knicks 130, Celtics 120. Look at that. They're able to win a high-scoring game against Boston, home or away, it doesn't matter, just to get that win out here, because you are looking at the price points. To win a championship, like the Boston Celtics are plus 170. In order for the Knicks to be a contender for a championship, you must beat them. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a plus 750 price. Both of those teams ahead of the New York Knicks. So I don't fault the public for overwhelmingly coming over the top at over 83% saying no, because what we've shown out of the New York Knicks just isn't enough, and the odds are playing out that way. The heavy favorite to win the NBA championship, it's the Boston Celtics. You got to beat them just to get into the NBA Finals. That's why it's so lopsided here in the poll today.
The biggest challenger, it would seem at this moment, is Cleveland to Boston, right? The Knicks have not gained that ground to truly be on the same peg, same tier, even really within the same arena as the Celtics right now. And to Donnie's point, it's not like the Knicks are 150-1. Ooh, do they provide some value to make a run to the second round where you could maybe cash out or hedge? No, they got a 15-1 price to win the championship, 7-1 out east with the third best number. The Celtics minus 150 as the favorites. Hefty price for a Boston team that might not even be the one seed in the Eastern Conference and would not have home floor advantage if they were to see the Cleveland Cavaliers at any point. I thought JY did make a good point, though, DRS, that if you're the Knicks, it might not benefit you to be in that 2-3 spot, right? To be the 3 seed, to take on the Pistons as of this moment, to win that opening round as we would expect, and New York will be a hefty favorite to do just that. But then to have to go to Boston for your second round matchup, certainly less favorable, and even from the odds perspective, than to be the 4 seed and head to Cleveland to take on the Cavs. The only issue, Donnie, it's not a game lead for New York in front of Indiana for that 3-4 split. The Knickerbockers, despite the struggles against the best in the NBA, still have a 4-game advantage over the Indiana for what would be the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, path of least resistance is the best way to win an NBA championship. So you can avoid as many good teams as possible. That's the goal. And maybe it is. But we've seen it before. Hey, let me avoid this matchup only to get the matchup they really wanted and end up getting ended early in the playoffs regardless. Sooner than later, you are going to have to face the best teams in the NBA to win a championship. We just don't know if the Knicks are up to that task. And according to the public, they don't think they are either.
No, they don't seem to be at this juncture. We'll talk about other action around the association, starting to preview the 8-game slate. Up next on TTL. Live right here on the early line on Sports Grid. We start off a new week, and you have the two premier NBA handicappers on this network together to help you do so. 8-game slate around the association on this Monday evening. In DRS last night in the Twin Cities, we changed destination, but between the same two teams. That would be the Thunder and the Timberwolves. OKC winning on the road by 7, 130-123 last night. The Timberwolves did cover as an 8.5-point home dog. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 37 points, 8 dimes, 8 boards, 3 blocks, 3 steals, getting the job done for the NBA's best team out in the Western Conference. Tonight, again, in Oklahoma City. 12.5-point spread in favor of the Thunder, 227.5 now that total. Minnesota, a great underdog, 9-5-1 against the spread this year. Total on the rise. Donnie, we saw a lot of points last night. Same exact total this evening as that closing number on a Sunday. What will we see for this game, take two?
Yeah, you're probably looking at this game saying, all right, well, they're getting a little bit tired here back-to-backs. Not necessarily. Again, Rudy Gobert missing yesterday's game. Rudy Gobert probably going to miss this game. That's huge on the total because that's a dominant rim protector that doesn't add all that much on offense. So I do agree. The 225.5 that opened up overnight, now sitting at 227.5. I do think we get points, but also at the same time, you read into that line like, wait a second, they're favored by close to 2 touchdowns. I'll just take the points. No. I'm reading right into that as an Oklahoma City blowout tonight here.
For sure.
But also probably leaning a little bit more towards the over than the side itself.
DRS, when you look at the last 10 games for OKC, they have been at least a 7.5-point favorite in 9 of the 10. The only game less than that against the Memphis Grizzlies before the All-Star break. But so many times that you start to go through the rundown for the Thunder this year, booked as a favorite in basically all but 3 games, 32, 19, and 4 against the spread, including that NBA Cup title game against the Bucks that they lost outright. OKC has not just been a favorite, but close to a double-digit favorite. They have gone over in both of their games since the All-Star break. This is game number 3. The Thunder, the best record in the Western Conference, 46-10. Again, a 9.5-game advantage for that top spot over both the Grizzlies and the Nuggets. Denver got beat bad at home as about a 6-point favorite on Saturday night against the Lakers. A vintage Luka Doncic performance, 32 points, 10 boards, 7 dimes, by far Luka's best game in the purple and gold. The Nuggets tonight on the road in Indy take it on the Pacers, 5-point road favorite, total at 245.5. What do you like in Indy tonight?
That overnight line opened up at -3.5 as a favorite towards the road team Nuggets. Now we sit at seeing the live number at 5. We'll see if that has any movement throughout the day, but also a hefty total, which opened up at 245.5 here in New Jersey, and the FanDuel Sportsbook still sitting at 245.5. The Pacers did play yesterday. The Denver Nuggets did. That's usually an advantage, but also at the same time, if the Pacers played at home yesterday, which they did, and playing at home again today, which they are, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fade that trend here of the 3s going up to 5s. I'll take the 5 points at home with the Pacers. If this game was in Denver on a back-to-back for Indiana, of course, I'm going to be off that train. But I'm going to go against the move here and take the points with the +5 here.
We have seen some very large totals for Indiana in the last few years, even in the last week. 250 was the number for a game against Memphis as we came out of the All-Star break late last week. 245 in a hook. Indiana over in 5 of its last 6. But, Donnie, the real reason this number is that high, the Denver Nuggets, second highest over percentage in all of the NBA. The Pacers, a really good underdog team this year. The Nuggets 22-21-1 against the spread as a favorite. The Pacers 13-10 against the number. But, Donnie, a victory as a slight dog over the weekend. Indiana is the only team in the NBA above 500 as a favorite. 12-11 straight up, despite the market working against them on this Monday. The Detroit Pistons have won 6 consecutive games, It is the second longest win streak in the NBA, behind only the Cavs, who have won 7 in a row. Can Detroit match that tonight as they get ready to take on the LA Clippers? The Pistons at home in the Motor City, catching 2.5 points against LA. Total slightly up as well, 224. Can the Pistons make it winners of 7 straight, DRS?
Yeah, it could be a possibility, but if you look at that line, the opening number here at FanDuel was -1 as a favorite towards the Pistons. It's now -2.5, not for the Pistons, but for the Los Angeles Clippers. Now understand this, both of these teams did play last night. Both of these teams still in travel situations because the Pistons were on the road in a high-scoring tilt, now come home, and the Clippers lost a game yesterday on the road. Now they still stay on the road, so 2 traveling spots here. 224 is that number for the total. But for me, it's simple with the Clippers. Yesterday, they get waxed. Why? Of course, Norman Powell didn't play in that game. You always get waxed without Big Norm in the lineup. Tonight, anticipated starting lineup here for the Clippers: Harden, Dunn, Powell, Leonard, and Zubac. If that is the starting lineup, I agree with the line movement, and I will take the Clippers to beat the Detroit Pistons.
Snap the 6-game win streak, perhaps. In those 6 games that they have won, Detroit is covered in 5 of the 6, including the last 4 booked as a favorite. The Pistons have only been favored in 20 basketball games this year. 7 of the last 9, Detroit has been booked as a favorite. So very frequently, the odds starting to catch up with a Detroit team that is 5 games above 500, 31-26, in the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference standings at this moment, avoiding the play-in tournament at this juncture for Detroit, and doing so by a pretty comfortable margin. The Pistons have a 3-game lead over Orlando for that 6-7 split, which would be the play-in tournament and just into the regular playoffs. 21-14-2 against the spread for the Pistons, still booked as a dog in a majority of their games this year. 16 outright victories. The Clippers, one of 4 teams, DRS, around the NBA, booked as a favorite in 60% of their games or more, covering in 60% of their games or more as well. 7 straight on the line tonight for Detroit. 8-game NBA slate we just previewed. 2 more on the other side of the break before we get you a prop perspective on this Monday, including a game up next, DRS, in regional Philadelphia, in your neck of the woods. The 76ers, who have lost 7 in a row, can they snap the skid? Are they still even caring about a play-in tournament spot? We'll break it down up next here on the Early Line. Tonight in Philadelphia, some are calling it the NBA play-in tournament game of the year. The 76ers at home, a 4.5-point favorite against the Chicago Bulls. Philly looking up at Chicago, who currently occupies the 10th spot in the Eastern Conference standings and has a 1.5-game advantage over the 76ers for what would be that 4th and final play-in tourney position. DRS, the game of the year perhaps for Eastern Conference play-in tournament ramifications, because if Philadelphia loses, might it be over? Over the weekend, we got the update. Joel Embiid exploring alternative options to take care of his injured knee. He has tried to play and get treatment and sit and get treatment and play and get treatment, and it has not worked either for JoJo or Philly as a whole. The 76ers have lost 7 consecutive games. Can they snap the skid? If they do not, Donnie, will the season be over in Philly come tomorrow? Now a 4.5-point spread in favor of the Sixers at home.
Yeah, season's been over for a while. We just haven't turned the lights out yet on the arena. So you take a look at the starting lineup tonight. Once again, it doesn't include Joel Embiid, who is struggling with his knee. Should I progress? Should I play? What should I do? Maxey, Grimes, Oubre, George, and Yabusele in the lineup. Heck, maybe even David Big Body Roddy is going to get some play time tonight here for the Sixers. But the overnight line, -3.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook here in New Jersey. Now it sits 4.5. So people obviously are betting the 76ers with a higher ticket count. I just don't see, should they beat the Bulls on paper? Yes. The Sixers shouldn't have a 7, which looks like it might be a 10-game losing streak on the horizon, even if Joel Embiid is only playing half of those games. The talent is there to win. They just don't win. It's just a bad match here for this season, where you're trying to take a look at the actual skills on the court to the team that actually who plays together. And it's been awful all the way through. So tonight, I don't know who is taking the Sixers -4.5, but you know what? Won't be your boy DRS.
Maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, hey, they probably haven't been favored often if Joel Embiid is sitting out in this 7-game slide, right? And now they're favored. I listen to you guys all the time. That is a Philly line. Wrong. Yeah. 5 of the 7 games in this losing skid, the Sixers have been favored. The odds makers have no idea what to do with Philadelphia. Is this guy in? Is this guy in? Is this guy out? Does this guy care more about his podcast than hitting an open 3 nowadays? looking at you, Paul George, and the answer to that question would be yes. There is no belief in Philadelphia. Maybe they win tonight and snap the 7-game skid. But still, Donnie, the pedigree that you have to have, the standard to be a postseason team in the NBA right now is ridiculous. The Bulls are 13 games below 500 and have a game-and-a-half lead over Philadelphia for the 10th and final play-in tournament spot. The 76ers are 16 games sub 500 and could still make the playoffs somehow, some way. Not my play-in tournament, where two other teams that face off tonight very squarely in the play-in tournament mix, as they have been the last 2 to 3 NBA years. Basically a pick'em tonight in Atlanta. Miami, an ever so slight favorite against the Hawks. 228 in a hook is that total. The Heat, 26-29. A game in front of Atlanta at 26-31 for the 8-9 difference around the Eastern Conference standings. What's the play tonight in the A?
Yeah, again, back to back. The NBA loves this stuff too. Like you have 6 or 8 months to play a season. Like everybody plays every day on a back to back. It doesn't make any sense, but here you have it again. Opening number here for the Miami Heat of -1. They still sit at -1 across the board. The total has changed a little bit going north. 226.5 is the opening number. Now we see it live at 228.5. I'll just keep it simple. The Hawks, not really on a travel, going to be at home. I'll take them with the 1 point here. Probably is the public underdog, but I'll take them here in this spot. Both teams playing yesterday. Toss up on who's actually playing tonight. Just give me the home team with a slight point advantage.
Yeah, DRS, I don't dislike the look for you. Hey, how about this barn burner in the nation's capital? The Nets, a 3-point favorite against the Wizards. Brooklyn sandwiched in between Chicago and Philadelphia right now. The Nets only a half game out of the 10 spot, the 4th and final play-in tournament position. The Jazz at home catching 5.5 against the Blazers. The Kings, double-digit favorite, laying 11 against the Hornets. When are we going to start to recognize that Charlotte's one of the best cover teams in the NBA as an underdog? 29-18-2 against the spread for the Hornets as a dog. 49 games as an underdog, and they're covering in nearly 62% of them. Cleveland and Minnesota, the only two teams with a better cover percentage as an underdog, and both have been booked as a dog in fewer than 15 games. Hornets, catching 11. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, catching 11. Who cares about that game? Nets, Wizards, make me commissioner. We combine the two franchises. The two most irrelevant franchises in NBA history. Combine them. Just combine them.
Yeah, commissioner right side.